Hello, my name is Linda Gibson. I was born Linda Grabbert. Uh, my my mother tells me that I was named Linda because at the time after World War II, when I was born, it was a very popular name. And I can contest to that because all through school and through college, and even today, I meet many women my age who are Linda. Very often I'll turn around in the store when I hear someone call Linda and I think it's me. But they're not calling me usually.
Did you have a middle name?
Oh, my middle name is Carol. It's probably short for Carolyn, which was my father's aunt, a very beloved aunt.
Okay. Did you know her?
Oh, yes, I did. A very fascinating German woman. She lived in New Jersey. She was a painter. By that I mean she did watercolors. She's very fascinating, a German lady.
Did you ever take after her in that respect?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Did you have any pet names, nicknames growing up?
No.
Okay. Linda, what's your present family situation?
Right now I'm been married to my partner and companion and soulmate, Bob Gibson. Bob grew up in West Islip. He's a graduate of West Islip, and we've been married for 32 years.
Wow. How'd you meet?
When I moved to Bayshore to start working in the Brentwood Schools, he lived next door with his mother in apartments over on Howells Road, and we started dating, and that was that.
You were neighbors. You started out as neighbors.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew his mother and his sister.
You and Bob have any children?
Yes, we do.
Tell us about the children. Name them and tell us about them.
Okay. Well, I became very late. Bob and I came late in life to children. I had already been a teacher for 16 years. At that time, we had, of course, wanted children all the way along, but that wasn't meant to be for us. So, I know the exact date. It was July 15th, 1985. We decided that we were going to adopt. And that was because our best friends had showed us a picture that night of their baby who was coming from Korea. So we decided that we would like to think about it. It took a while. It took a while to no more than 2 weeks, really, to make that decision that this was perhaps a direction that we should investigate. And we did. And from then on, then we applied, and our social worker came right after Hurricane Gloria. And we had downed trees in our front yard and all kinds of things. But she came to look at the house to make sure that it was a house for a child to live in. And then the next thing we knew, we were going to sessions with her about adoption. Actually, from the day we decided to adopt, which was July 15th of 85, all the way through to Billy's, our child's arrival date, which was April 22nd, 1986, it was 9 months, just like a normal birth. And I did write an article for adoption newspapers for the families about my quote unquote pregnancy and the trimesters that are involved in pregnancy, and likened it to what I was what I was going through. That child was is a boy. He came at age 4.5. His name is Bill. We talked to my father, who is also Bill, to be sure that it would be okay with my dad that we named our son after him. His name is William Thomas Gibson. That's our son. William is for my dad, and Thomas is my husband's youngest brother, who is not only our son's uncle, but also his godfather.
Mm-hmm. How old is William?
Oh, Bill's 23.
He's single and doing well?
Oh well, he'll be 23 November 25th. And he's in a 5-year program at Rider University. He'll be graduating this coming May 13th with majors in both business and psychology.
So that's the field that he's headed into, presumably.
Well, what happened was he started with psychology, and we just let him go and just do it. And then about 2 years ago, he called up one day and said, "Mom, I'm going to go into business." So, of course, I wanted to scream on the phone, "Yes!" But I had to restrain myself because I really wanted to say, "I told you so. You're doing exactly what I want you to do." That was where we wanted you to be anyway, but I didn't want to cause any trouble. So we just said, "Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, go ahead. Go over there and tell them you'll do a double major. Oh, it's okay. You can stay in a 5th year. Yeah, that's okay." So that's where we are.
So Bill is your only child?
Oh, no.
Tell me about the
other. Oh, no. Billy came at age 4.5. He only spoke Korean. That was it. He went right away to school. He attended Mark Country over in Bayshore. He was there at the time with Karen Storyahan and Alex Warner's son, Alex. And we decided that it would be nice to have a second child so that they would have a sibling, especially in future years in terms of family and holidays and cousins, and so that they would have each other. And so we started the adoption process again, and this time we were able to adopt a girl. And Catherine Jane Gibson, better known as Katie, Katy. Catherine was I was a teacher, and I knew that Catherine was quite a handle to put on a little girl that was fluent in Korean, who read, spoke, and wrote Korean.
How old was she?
Almost 6. So, and she was quite advanced because she was living in a children's home for over a year. So they were doing education, school all the time. None whatsoever. She did not know the English alphabet at all.
And how is she making out today?
She will be graduating Phi Beta Kappa from Penn State on December 18th in the area of advertising.
Must have done something right, Mama.
Well, I think that it was all part of a lot of people and her public schools and the family and the community, of course, because our children are very active, both in school and in the community with sports.
Did you decide that was it now for family?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yes. It never gets easier. Trust me, ever. Now,
were you born?
well, Catherine was named, I just like the name Katie.
Yeah, yes.
Katy. Let's get back to her. And it was 4 letters that I thought would be easy for her to identify on a coat rack, on property at school, and to write herself. But I thought that Catherine might be better, looking ahead, might be better in a business setting for her. And Jane is my mother. So it's Catherine Jane Gibson.
I was about to ask you where you were born.
Oh, I was born in Minneapolis.
Oh.
Right here on the island. Mm-hmm.
So you're a Long Island girl?
All my life.
Born and raised?
Yes. Except for the 4 years that I went to undergraduate school.
When were you born?
Oh, June 1946.
Okay, right after the war, right?
Yes.
After World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any memories of the war? Or
No.
Not the war, because you were born after it, but I mean, do you have any memories of early memories of growing up in Minneapolis and what it was like?
I didn't grow up in Minneapolis. I was born there.
Okay, and then you moved.
Well, I was taken home.
No, but I mean, you were born in Minneapolis, but your family didn't live in Minneapolis.
No, I was born in Minneapolis Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was taken to Manhasset.
Oh, Manhasset?
Yeah, to an apartment, my parents' first apartment.
Oh, I'm learning something new.
Okay, and then I guess in about 1949, we moved to Port Washington, to my mother's grandfather's home. My mother she was born in Port Washington. Our family goes back generations into Port Washington.
When you say your mother's grandfather had a home there,
Mm-hmm.
so you must know a lot about family history on your mother's side.
Yes.
Tell us a little something about your family history. You go back generations to Long Island.
Port Washington specifically. Yes. My mother's a clam digger. That's what they call people up there. Her parents were,
What were her parents' and grandparents' occupations? What did they do?
Her mother was, my maternal grandmother was a homemaker, and my maternal grandfather was a carpenter. Mm-hmm. Yes. And actually he worked on the inside of airplanes when they were made of wood. Was back in the 30s. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Long Island was once a very important place
Mm-hmm.
for the aeronautic industry,
Yes.
so he had plenty of work.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He also had an orchestra, especially during the Depression.
Really?
Well, people still did get married, and there were occasions for this.
What instrument did he play?
He played piano.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's on your father's side?
My mom.
Oh, that's on your mom's
Mm-hmm.
side. But your paternal grandfather was a carpenter.
Oh, I made a mistake on that. It's my maternal.
Your maternal, okay.
Yeah, it's all maternal we're
all
talking
maternal.
about.
Now, okay, then tell us about your dad, folks, and his family. What you know about them. What was their line of work?
His father was in the fire brick business, and they built incinerators in over in Bayonne, up in Connecticut, Rye, New York, that I know of. And then my father, yes, in Long Island City, and then my father went into that business, and then went in a different direction from there.
What did your father most especially like to do? What gave him pleasure?
Boating.
Okay. And your mom?
Yachting.
What were some of her favorite things to do?
At one time, it was sewing.
Okay.
It was at one time it was sewing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned she was a homemaker, so
Yes, my mother was a homemaker.
so there was not a lot of time to do anything other than that, when she was a homemaker, I mean, a woman's work is never done, they used to say.
Well, she was not like mothers are busy today with running here and there, but she was busy with church activities and scouting with us and school.
Yeah. Linda, what's the earliest memory of anything that you had?
Oh, playing store at my grandmother's house. I used to have a doll carriage, and I would go over to her pantry, and I would take out the boxes and the cans, and I would set them up on this old red coffee table. And then when I learned to write numbers, I used to write on the boxes numbers. And I remember that my grandmother believed that she had paid the price of something that I had written. And she couldn't believe that she had, right. And she thought that the store clerk had written it. So I must have been very young, probably 4 or 5. And I probably remember that because we talk about it so much. Especially, I think I remember that because we get together as a family every year, so many times a year, with my cousins and everything, and I'm the oldest of them all. So we share these stories so that we don't forget.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will serve that purpose.
Okay. But my cousins tell.
Did you have some real early memories of both your mother and your father? Some specific memory of them?
Oh, I don't know where to start.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
because it's so wide open.
Yeah,
let me ask you this though. On your maternal side, what did your grandfather teach you? On your mother's side of the family, what did you learn from your grandfather? Many things, of course, but
I think I would say that when you say you're going to do something, do it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now were you an only child?
No. I have a sister 4 years younger than me. Her name is Arlene. She lives here on Long Island. She lives in Green Lawn now. She's an RN. She works at St. Francis Hospital. She's very happily married to Mike. Her son is 26. He's going to be a commercial pilot. And their daughter, Amy, is 23. And she is currently, right now as we speak today, she's student teaching in Smithtown in the music department there. She's in the middle school. She attends McCrae School of Music, and she's going on into her master's after student teaching.
Are you the oldest then?
Yes, I am.
So it's just the two of you?
No, I have a brother.
And how old is
He's 10 years younger than I am. Yes, his name's William, also named after my father. And his middle name's Clinton, named after my maternal grandfather. So he's William Clinton. Yes, it's true. He did write for the Anton Press for years and years, covering community functions, and he used the pen name William Clinton. Well, when Billy Boy came along, my brother needed to change his name. Actually, it was to his benefit that he went back to William Gravert. Right now, he also is in the teaching field, so to speak. He teaches how to use computers to professionals who have other people use computers for them, such as many doctors, lawyers want to know how to use a computer, but in their professional life, they have other people using it for them. So he goes to their homes, their offices, and teaches them. He's known as the computer tutor. He also is an adjunct professor at Hofstra.
And he teaches the computer science?
Yes.
Is there a way that you could give
And his wife, by the way, is a teacher.
Oh, what's her name?
Okay, Carol Ann.
And she teaches on Long Island?
Yes, in Valley Stream Schools.
Oh.
And they have 2 children. They live in Babylon. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that covers your siblings. Okay, good. I didn't want to leave anybody out.
No, that's it.
I was just about to ask you if there's any way that you could describe for us what it was like growing up in your family as a child.
Wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing at all. I was the oldest.
What was so wonderful?
I think it was because my sister at the time was 4 years younger than I was. And that was when children had bedtimes. Very set bedtimes. And my sister would go to bed earlier than I did. And I would have Daddy all to myself. Mm-hmm. In fact, you asked me before if I had a nickname. Yes. Now I remember. He was Captain Video and I was Ranger. I remember that, definitely.
Were there any, besides your mom and dad and of course your grandparents, and you mentioned them before, were there any other adult influences that were important in you during your formative years that were not family?
I would say they're too numerous to mention. And the reason is that because I lived in Port Washington, we knew and they were friends of my mother's and my father's from childhood. Many of the people were not family related, but they were known as Aunt Peggy and instead of Mr. and Mrs. And I still refer to them as aunt or, yeah, and I just can't move to calling them by their first name. It's not appropriate. That's the way I was brought up.
Now your background is German, did you say before?
German and English.
And how many generations back does that go? That your predecessors came from Germany?
My father's grandfather came from Germany.
Do you know what part of Germany?
Yes, Hamburg.
Have you ever been there?
No.
Planning on going?
No.
Okay.
I've been to Germany, but we never got up there.
Okay. Who was the most influential in your life to help you decide what your career path was going to be?
My mother's aunt, Alice.
Tell us how that happened.
She was a teacher all her life in Queens for the New York City schools. She was an elementary teacher. I was always fascinated by what she had to say about what she did professionally. My mother occasionally we would drive down there, and I would get to go into her classroom. It was kind of exciting. She herself had many students that were very successful later in life. and would write her a note or call her or and come to see her and tell her what an influence that she was in their life.
And this is as an elementary school?
Yes, yes. And they have many,
Linda,
yeah.
when did you make that big decision that you wanted to be a teacher and you began to prepare? When did you know? Early or later?
Probably about 10 or 9, because my sister and I shared a bedroom and we had 2 double beds, and I used to set up the double beds. I used to set up and play school. Right. Oh, I had an attendance list. I had, all kinds of things. The pretending. But about 10.
Okay. And before that, it was playing store, but then you evolved.
Yeah, but the thing is, I shouldn't say but. The thing is that I grew up in a family where it was assumed that we were going to college.
Okay.
At a very, I mean, I don't think I ever knew that I wasn't going to college.
Okay. This is a difficult question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the toughest decision you've ever had to make?
To break off an engagement with my college sweetheart while in my sophomore year.
Who is one of the most unforgettable teachers that you had, either in elementary school, high school, or college? You can pick any level, but name a teacher that was unforgettable as far as you're concerned.
Louise Greenfield. She was my algebra and trigonometry teacher. Back then it was the two together, intermediate algebra and trig. And that class was made up of not only 11th graders, but there were some that were repeating the course. And everybody got through. And that woman was like amazing. I think,
Good role model for you.
Yeah. Yes.
When you were growing up, was there a favorite? And I say this, either an indoor or an outdoor game. We all played games at one time or another. Some of us had indoor.
Oh, hide and seek.
Okay.
Yeah, we had all ages coming out to play in our neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of children and a lot of great places to hide.
What's a memorable gift that you once received from someone? First, let me make it easy. Did you ever get a gift from a student that you remember?
Oh, sure. Well, I know what it is. What am I? Okay. I've received many, many Christmas ornaments and things that could be hung on a Christmas tree. And so what we have is a separate tree that's taken out every year, and then I decorate with different items. I mean, the tree is loaded, and I've written on them or I've attached stickers and writing down the child's name at the time and the year and the grade, because I've taught 4, 5, or 6, so it started to get confusing.
So wonderful.
So I have a student tree, really, what I've got.
Do you remember your first paying job?
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh, I worked in a bank, and the debits and credits had to be hand sorted and run on an adding machine. There were no computers then. It was called Republic National Bank.
Okay. Remember a family holiday that was really important to your family? Maybe one of the biggest family holidays that you celebrated?
Does it have to be a holiday?
Tell me what you're thinking.
When my sister and my brother and I gave our parents their 40th anniversary party. That was about the biggest. And the reason why I'm saying that is it's because my father died in 86, so there was never a 50th.
Okay, so that was a big one.
Oh yeah, that was really, really big. Mm-hmm.
Do you, what were your favorite subjects in school?
Social studies. Um,
Did you have a least favorite subject when you were in high school?
in high school, yeah,
You liked going to school?
yeah, I did. I really did. I wouldn't say the least
Okay.
because
You found something in all of them that was interesting to you.
I think I live by. My father always said in life, don't worry about things. Think about what you're going to do about them. So, I mean, just get through it. Just do it. If you, a lot has to do with attitude. And attitude is very important. So if you go through it with a positive attitude, I think that, and goal. If you set your goal in life, and I don't mean just making it through to Saturday for the weekend. I mean long range goal. And you see a path, you see a light at the end of the tunnel, but you make it attainable. So probably in high school mine was to get to college, and then once you get to college, make all new goals. And then once you graduate there, once you're almost finished with college, start looking on. And I think that that's what I live by. What I'm going to do today, what I plan on getting done by next week, surely by next month, and then my husband and I have had life goals that we are knocking down slowly.
I'm going to ask you about some of those, but right now, I want to ask you if you have, living where we do here on Long Island, we of course get to enjoy all the seasons, and we're in the midst of beginning another transition to the fall. Do you have a favorite season?
Summer.
What's that?
Oh, because I love going in the pool, and we have an above ground pool. I love going in that, and I love the beauty of the grass and the flowers.
Are you a boating person?
Yes, we are, and
You're a boating family.
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. We have a 30-foot sailboat.
Oh, you're a boating family. Yeah. Do you have? I told you I was going to ask you this question. Do you have a favorite aroma or an aroma that when you detect it reminds you of?
Vanilla.
What does it remind you of?
Vanilla cookies my mother baked.
Okay. Do you have, can you tell us the schools that you attended all the way through?
Yes.
Sure, let's hear.
Kindergarten to 5th grade, I went to Main Street School in Port Washington. We moved that summer, and then I went to Flower Hill School for grade 6 only. Then right within Port Washington. From grade 7 to 9, I went to Carrie Palmer Weber Junior High School. And then from grade 10 to 12, I went to Paul D. Schreiber High School in Port Washington.
So you had a good taste of a lot of different schools growing up. Did you, what degree did you have? How far did you go with your own education?
Oh, master's degree.
Okay, and you did that where?
I did my undergraduate, first of all, at State University College at Plattsburgh. And then, because I always knew that I was going to go away from home. That was just assumed.
That was one of your goals, I guess.
And actually, it was one of my parents' goals, too, that they felt that was very important to get out and do it. Just do it. My dad, I remember when I went away that day, when my mom took me up to Plattsburgh, I remember him coming out that morning after he had packed the station wagon, and he said one of the things that always stuck in my mind forever. He said to me, Linda, remember, you're never going to come home to live again. And it took me a while to understand that. He didn't mean that I couldn't come home to the house, but that I was going to be coming back that Thanksgiving vacation as a different person. And he knew that would happen. And so that he realized that it would be under different circumstances with my independence and probably cockiness that they would try to live with me when I got home. Yeah.
Your father was a very bright man.
Oh, extremely. Excessively so.
Why do you say excessively?
Because of what he did in life.
Okay.
Yes, I know that. And I became more aware that that's what he meant.
What's
So you asked me where I went to college. I went Plattsburgh first, and then when I came back, I got a job after graduation. My first position was in Brentwood, and then I started right away doing my master's degree, and I finished in 1973. I finished got my master's in education from Hofstra.
Did you do all your graduate work at Hofstra? You did. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one moment, either professionally or personally, that you can point to and say, I remember that as one of the proudest moments of my life?
Yeah, I can. The day my husband and I are married, that he had chosen me to be his wife, to be his life partner and companion.
And you say you arrived in Brentwood upon completion of your undergraduate
Yes,
work?
1968.
And you started teaching right away. And why Brentwood? Why not Bayshore? Why not some other place?
Oh, I had put out a lot of resumes. In fact, my mother had gone with me to look at some of the places. I didn't even go to some of the interviews. Places up in Westchester and Putnam County. I was like, no way, I wasn't going to be there. I had students taught in Suffern, so I knew, I was familiar with that area, and so that's why I put out a lot of resumes there. And then my dad came home. He told me before graduation that he had a chief engineer working for him that lived in Brentwood. You would know the family. Can I say the name? Okay. Giannone, Frank Giannone. At the time, his wife was president of the PTA of Northwest Elementary, and when there was a Northwest, and the information was passed on that Brentwood was looking for teachers, and sure enough, and I came out here and had an interview and was hired.
Who interviewed you? Do you remember who it was? Was it at the district headquarters or at?
Yes. and maybe Carmela, you can help me with this. That was it. That Dr. Nanini. Yes, I was interviewed by him. Yes. And my first position was for 4th grade at East Elementary.
Now, who was the first person?
And the principal was going to be Austin Harney.
Uh-huh.
And it ended up that it was right at the end of August, I got a phone call saying that class was going to happen. Well, you were knocking me down. So my father and I got in the car, and we didn't even bother with Austin Harney. We went right to the district offices. Poor Dr. Nanini was having a meeting, but my father wasn't very interested at the moment. He asked him to step out of it, and what was he going to do about this? And so it was finally arranged. I think you remember this. That I was hired and I was supposed to be, okay. Well, I was something that wasn't supposed to happen in Brentwood. I was a permanent sub. You called me every day, or your mother did. And what happened was that I was really taken aback. I really hated it. But anyway, it was a good experience, and maybe everybody should be a permanent sub at first. I guess so. But so I made a lot of rules that I wasn't going to take kindergarten, that I was going to be paid bi-weekly like the teachers. It was going to count as my first year. I had a lot towards tenure, all kinds of things. My paycheck was being brought to the school that I was on payday, all kinds of things. So what happened was, Carmela's mom, Mrs. Christiane, and I became very good friends over the phone. Either I had to call in every night to her home, or she called me, and very often I would even be changed, my assignment for the day. For example, I might have gotten assigned at 6:30 to Oak Park, grade 3. But by 7 o'clock, it was very possible that I was going to Southwest because a teacher was going to be out for 3 or 4 days in grade 1. So I got to know all the teachers. Actually, that's how I got to know all the schools. So that's why I'm saying people should be permanent subs. That year, I was put on I remember, I got called to Twin Pines, and there was going to be an opening there because that teacher was going to be going to the I think it was National Guard. I forget what it was. But anyway, and it was at the height of Vietnam and everything else. However, his job was, then it was explained to me that would I please stay the permanent sub so that he wouldn't have to go. That man turned out to be Bob Emmerich, who later came to Northeast and worked with me for years. But of course I understood that, no, we don't want any man to go, young guy, and he was going to be, he and Kathy had plans on being married, and so it was very important that he stay. But then I was asked then I did take over at Northeast, grade 5, for a long time.
From those early impressions, all the way through, how would you say Brentwood is different or the same as other places that you've heard of? Probably it's easy to explain different.
First of all, I'd say that Brentwood is like all other districts, and the children are children. and that their parents are the same, that they're loving parents, and they want the best for their children. All children are children and need to be educated. Every child is a little person unto themselves.
Well, it's a little unique too.
Oh yes, very much so. Oh yes. A cross section of society.
Okay. Now we're going to have to pick up the pace of
Okay.
talking because we're running out of pace here. So I'm going to ask you some other questions, like people you first met when you came to the district. Do you remember who some of the first people who you worked with that? Well, let's put it this way. You were a permanent sub for a while, but then you eventually...
First year. First year.
But then you were given an assignment. At that point, who did you work with? Who were some of the other people?
At Northeast?
Yeah.
The principal was Charlie Black.
Okay.
I was in the 5th grade at the time. When I was a sub there, I decided that I wanted to work at Northeast, and I had an interview with Charlie Black, and at that time it was all men on the 5th and 6th grade, and he had an interview with me, and I remember he impressed me because the only thing he said to me is, he went like this with his arm on the table, and he goes, "Give me your hand." And I went, ah! As hard as I could. Of course he laughed. He had a unique personality. Yeah, I remember Harold Gruber, Vinnie Zolo, Joe Bissell, Virginia Roman, Camille Patricky.
What other grades did you teach then?
I've only taught 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6. Okay.
I was very active with Mike Aroma and Henry Muller and those people. Then we started the outdoor education program.
Okay.
And we helped set up Nistaclog.
Okay. Now, I know you had a job description when you were doing 4th and 5th grade and you were coming in to work with those youngsters. But you also had your own pleasure for coming to work every day. Have you ever tried to put that into words? Okay, you think you can do it for us? What was your purpose? What drove you? What was your goal, as you explained before, is you're a person who is goal-driven?
To see a smile on each child's face every day when they realize that they could do it.
Now, you were a member of BTA. And
yes.
That brings us to that. You mentioned you were a delegate.
Yes.
What years would that have been? Would that have been in the 70s or 80s that you were building?
I remember Jack Zuckerman as our president.
Okay, when Jack was president.
Yes, and then after that, Joe Hogan.
Do you remember any issue that was important to you when you were a delegate? Something that you had to speak to leadership about with respect to your own?
In my own building.
Your own staff?
Yes, we did have a time when they were going to let people go, and there was a time at that time like give backs and things like that. And I tried to explain to the younger teachers the importance of keeping art, music, and gym prep periods. And that yes, we are certified to teach those areas, but not as well as professionals that are trained in those areas. Besides, we needed those prep times to contact parents and to see to other things.
Do you remember how much you made when you first started teaching?
$6,800. And I thought it was the best. And other teachers that I went to college with from other areas go, "Wow, how did you ever land that job?"
Well, your last building assignment was
Northeast. I was at Northeast for 32 years, continuously.
What professional accomplishment, Linda, might you say you were the most proud of? Something that you saw happen or you were able to do that you really took personal pride in? Is there one thing or a couple of things that you can point to?
I think there's so numerous. I don't know where to choose.
That's the difficulty, right? Anything you mention, let's not use the word most. Then let's just say one thing that you were particularly proud of having accomplished.
We had an outdoor education program that was very active for years.
That was with Mike, yes.
Yes, with Mike, and we set up Nistaquag State Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Now, what was the date of your retirement? When did you retire?
June 1999.
And why did you retire? What happened? What brought you to that awareness that it's time now for you to leave?
I just needed to.
Were you tired? Were you disappointed, or you just...
It was time.
It was time. Okay. And you said you had 32 years, was it? Total 32 years.
And I'm very glad I did at the time, because our son that following fall was a senior in high school, and our daughter was a junior in high school. And I also saw that it wasn't until the fall when I realized, boy, it's good I'm not working anymore, because I've got time to see my own kids.
If you had it all to do over again, would you change anything?
No.
Did you have any heroes growing up besides mom and dad or people in your own family? Were there any people or any figures in public life that you remember as being role models? Kids today talk of their role models. I wondered whether or not you had any back then, because it was different for us growing up.
Jacqueline Kennedy.
Okay. During your 32 years, of course, the world changed a lot. There was a lot of history taking place. Do you remember one historical event that occurred while you were teaching that you can point to and say, I remember the day that happened and how it affected me? Well, for example, I'm thinking...
Okay, the Berlin Wall coming down.
Okay.
I think that was very important.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure, of German-American heritage and a divided Germany, and it would be important.
Yeah, but I think for the world itself.
Yes, of course. Of course.
For people in East Germany to have a chance to live a better life.
What, so far, have you missed the most about active service?
Smiling faces, happy faces. Yeah, the children. The children, definitely.
We all have things that we don't miss. Can you mention one thing that you don't miss?
The green walls in the hallways. Yes.
Linda, is there something that you would like to have accomplished that you didn't have time to complete? Was there anything left undone? Anything you had to pass off to somebody else that you ran out of time, didn't have enough time?
Well, I think I made my decision years ago, back in '85. Back then, I really wanted, I thought that we would not be having children that wasn't meant for us. And I had really considered, and I was really looking into going in the path of an administrator. And I just gave it up cold turkey, because certainly I had other things. I just didn't do it. I just said, okay, that's it.
How about if you could wave a magic wand and make 3 changes in public education happen just like that? What would you want to see changed about public education?
more state funding. I'd like to see the standards more realistic, especially, and I don't know about middle or high school standards, but elementary, I would say. And I I think that I think that all teachers need to project to all children that education is the key and that there is hope in their life.
If this, like, we used to give tests to kids that were completion sentences. You give a phrase and they have to complete it. Complete this for us. Brentwood students are.
Fabulous.
Brentwood teachers are.
Awesome.
Now, if there was some piece of advice that the new crop of teachers could get from you, that is something you could give them from your own personal experience, what would you like to say to a room full of new professionals just starting out on a career?
I think what they should be doing is picking the brains of the experienced people, learn all they can from them, get into their classrooms, jot down some of the things that you see around the classroom, make a quick sketch of bulletin boards and displays, learn as much as you can from these people. They are experienced. They know what teaching is about.
What was your favorite year? If you have one?
Can't remember.
Okay. At future reunions, when your former students get together and they're talking about you, what would you like to have them say about you? How would you like to be remembered?
That I came across to them and helped them understand the things that they needed to learn by using manipulatives, that I just didn't stand in front of a class and talk at them, that I worked with them. And because one of the things that I always live by is tell me I forget, show me I remember, let me work with the materials I understand. And that was what I always tried to do, to have them understand their world around them.
Linda, thank you for being with us today.
Okay. And thank you for interviewing me.